Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Hydro. The Hydro is a ballast song that I've tried making a video on like a good few times now. And every time I make a video on it, I'm kind of unsatisfied on the way it turns out, either because I felt like at the end of the video I rewatched it and I felt like the way I was talking about it, the general tone I was giving it, wasn't really representative of the way I felt about it as a whole, or because I forgot something, I left something out in the video that I wanted to mention. But I'm going to try to give this one final take, because I feel like it's kind of hard for me to talk about because there's so much and so little at the same time in terms of my thoughts and opinions. But I'm going to try to give you guys my honest thoughts and opinions on it, and also some of the basic facts. But when I give you a review, I say it's going to be a review, just know that means that everything I say could be very well something that you strongly disagree with, and that's completely fine. That's why it's my thoughts. And if you guys have any, anything to say, just leave it in the comments. I mean, be happy to see how other people feel about it. But yeah, let's just get straight into the video. So, I actually have COVID right now, so that's, if my voice sounds weird, that's probably why. But yeah, so, straight talking about like the specs of the ballast song. It's a sandwich titanium, made by Squid, and it's weighs around 4.01 ounces. Squid claims it to be neutral, in their little specifications page on their website. I've gotten mine anodized. It's a first production unsharpened, number 96 out of 400, so that's pretty cool. It's got these Ultim spacers. Ultim's pretty light, so I don't know if that adds any weight to it, but they look pretty cool. At first I didn't like them. They've grown on me quite a bit. It's got this really cool handle pattern with these like kind of like long hexagons. It's pretty cool. And yeah, they run on bushings with stainless steel hardware, I believe, and phosphor bronze washers. Talking about how it flips, I don't know, my thoughts are kind of like weird on the Hydro. I kind of have a love/hate relationship with it. Mostly love and a little bit of dislike. I wouldn't even say hate, but if I had to label it as something, maybe love hate I guess works. Because the Hydro is very different to every other ballast song I've ever owned and flipped. And partially I feel like a lot of that maybe comes from how short the handles are. It's very different to any other ballast song that I've flipped before. I haven't flipped anything with handles this small before, and due to that, because of that, I think for me, at least the way I see it, I feel like when you try the Hydro, there's a bit of a learning curve to it. When you pick it up and start flipping it immediately, I feel like it feels kind of weird, and funnily enough, that's not just when you're your first time trying it. Like that feeling of like having to get used to the way it flips is so weird, because yeah, that happens with every ballast song, right? Like every time you get a new bally, and you start picking it up, it's a bit different, right? You haven't flipped it before, so you have to get used to it. You have to get used to doing different kinds of tricks on it, right? But usually that only lasts like maybe like 10 minutes, or like, I don't know, however long, and then it stops, and after you've gotten used to it, you don't have to get used to it again. The weird thing with the Hydro, at least for me, is that I feel like every time I like start flipping out something else for a certain amount of time, and I pick the Hydro up again, I feel like I have to get used to it every single time again, because it's just so unique and like so different to everything else that I have in my collection. So like say I start picking up the Kraken, I flip it for a while, get used to how it does certain things, fans, chaplains, rollovers, everything, and then I put it away and I start flipping my Hydro again. Depending on how long I was flipping the Kraken or any other ballast song, really, I feel like I'm gonna have to get used to the Hydro again, just because it's so weird. Like I have to, like, it's so weird. Every time I try to do a scissor on this, I always mess up, because I have to get used to how to do it on the Hydro, because it just feels so weird. Partially because it's really scary with that tip, but just also because it's really weird. And fans sometimes feel really weird on this thing. Like the palm fans feel kind of choppy. I don't know how to explain it, other than like I feel like when you do it, the rate it's spinning at is very inconsistent, and it feels like it's like, I don't know, it feels choppy. I don't know if you guys know what I mean, but that's the best that I can explain it. And then like Also, backhand fans feel kind of weird. And that is pretty much due to how short the handle is. because of how short the handle is. I feel like it just like doesn't give you a lot of room to hold it when you're trying to backhand fan it. But like I said, when you get into the flow of things, like if you've been flipping the hydro for a while in like one session, then I feel like you get a lot used to it, and at that point it becomes a really fun balisong to flip. So when you have been flipping the hydro for a while and you're getting used to it, and you've gotten used to how unique it is and how the length is and everything like that, after you get past all that, it's an amazing balisong. Like it performs super well. It does think you don't really notice like how the weirdness on the fans anymore. The rollovers are really good, but like when you get used to it, it's a really unique and fun flipper. But that's just the weird thing about it. Like you have to get used to it a lot. Like every time for me, every time I pick it up, I have to get used to it again. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, yeah, obviously I wish it wasn't like that. I wish I could just pick it up and like continue from like where I last left off. But it's not like huge, and like it takes me like now, like when I pick it up, it takes me like what, like a minute or two to get used to it. But it's like every time. And it is kind of rewarding because like I say rewarding, but like what I mean by that is that like you pick it up and you start flipping it again, and when you get back into it, it feels really good. And that's the reason I haven't gotten rid of it, right? Like usually you think a balisong that's as, I don't know if I'd say inconsistent, but like inconsistent as this in terms of the way I feel about it every time I pick it up. A balisong that's inconsistent as that, usually I would have gotten rid of it by now, right? But the reason I haven't gotten rid of the hydro is because when I do get used to it, it's just so good, and I really enjoy flipping it. The shortness of the handles is one thing you just got to get used to, and like I said, you don't really ever get used to it until like you keep on picking it up and picking it up and picking it up. But I don't mind it most of the time. And also it's really good for EDCs. Like I put this in my pocket and it feels so nice in the pocket just because it's so small. But yeah, yeah, that's the thing with the hydro. That's one of the biggest things I wanted to talk about, is the learning curve, if you will, with the hydro. But other than that, I mean, everything else it does pretty well. Like rollovers, chaplains, aerials, fans, it's fine. The grip is all right. For some reason, like it's not as grippy as you'd expect it to be with all the, like obviously sandwich is usually pretty grippy, titanium is pretty grippy, and these whole cutouts would make it pretty grippy, but it's just not as much. Like the Madco for me feels so much more grippy, and yeah, it's got a fair amount of cutouts, but so does the hydro, and they're both grade 5 titanium. So I don't know what's up with that. It just doesn't feel as grippy as the Madco for me. But that being said, it's still not terrible. Like it's still really good. The jimping is okay. For me, one thing I'm really particular about is my jimping, and I don't really like when the jimping is like, how do I say it? Like the lines are so close together, if you know what I mean. Like I like it when the lines are fairly spaced out. Like we're going back to the Madco because I love the Madco. You see how like the jimping is really spaced out between each like divot. The hydro isn't like that. It just feels like texturing at that point. It doesn't feel like actual jimping, so it's like not the best. Yeah, it ladders fine, but like I feel like the laddering, like how good it is at laddering, mostly comes from just the fact that it's sandwiched, the grip that comes from being sandwiched, and not really the grip from the jimping at all. Like I feel like if I took the jimping out, it laddered the exact same. So that's one thing to think about. People have told me to pick up the Jimpy, I keep on saying Jimpy, the Zippy extension spacers, and I've been like thinking about it, but for now I'm gonna hold off on it because I do like the way the hydro is. I think the shortness of the handles, it gives it a lot of personality, even though that personality comes with like the learning curve and everything. But ultimately I do like it, and I think it's what makes it like one of the more unique balisongs in my collection. But yeah, other than that, I think I'm so scared to hit double scissors on this thing, man. But yeah, other than that, I think I think I've covered everything. Hopefully I don't have to record this video again. But yeah, I love the hydro. It's got its kinks. It's got its strengths. It's got its weaknesses. But overall, I think it's a really solid bally. It retails for $3.95. And I think it's pretty fair to say that this is one of Squid's best priced products, especially when you have like I don't know, these are discontinued now, but this is a Triton V2, and when this was still around, it costs, I think, $140, and this is not worth $140, bro. I mean, it's 6061 aluminum. It's got no bushings. It's got like terrible grip. It flips all right. Tolerances are not that good, but like, yeah. So when you're getting that for 140, I don't think that is representative of like how Squid's pricing line should be. Like, this is not, I wouldn't buy this for 140. And even with the Makos, like, I don't know how much the Makos are, but if they're anything similar to the Tritons and they're 6061 aluminum, I don't think it's worth it. That's just way too much for what you're getting. But in terms of the Hydro, when you have the Hydro for $395 for sandwich titanium with this good build quality, I think it's really worth it. I think it's like one of Squid's best priced products, alongside the Madco. I think the Tsunami is overpriced, but this is really good, and I think if you have a chance to pick this up, then you definitely should. The thing is, for some reason, they're not doing so well on the secondhand market right now, but I think I'm gonna keep mine. Yeah, if you can pick one up, and if you're interested to see how it flips, I definitely think you should. I don't think it's for everyone. I think there's a lot of people who think this is who are gonna think this is overrated or it's just not good. And that's your opinion, but in my opinion, I think it's really solid. I think it flips well, and I think it's worth the price. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Hydro. Yeah, let me know if you guys have anything to add or any constructive feedback in the comments. Like I said, I'm still pretty new. This is my third video so far, so I'm still getting used to the whole YouTube posting stuff. But hopefully next video is gonna be the Madco, and then after that, let me know what you guys want, because I don't know what to post about next. I still have quite a few Balisongs to go through, but thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below, subscribe if you want to, and yeah, that's all.